Welcome to Sambhashana, a fortnightly talk show where I will be presenting conversations with diverse personalities from various industries, and I'm your host, Nilima Somashekar. For this week, we have with us Mr. Vikash Goyal, ex-president, Hemophilia Federation India. He has been associated with this organization and the cause for over 20 plus years, and he has traveled extensively pan-India advocating towards this cause. Vikas is highly passionate to work for disabled and the less privileged children. A warm welcome to you, and I'm delighted to have you, Vikash, for this Sambhashana on the area where you have contributed to a great extent for whatever I have known over the period of time.
Thank you, Nilima. It's my pleasure to be here and to share my experiences and my knowledge, whatever I know about the disorder.
And I must confide that, at such a short notice that you have accepted the invitation, and I feel very humbled, for you have been doing this.
It's my pleasure. You've always reached out. You've helped me whenever I've reached out in the last so many years that we worked together for the cause. So it's my small way of contributing to your efforts.
Thank you so much, Vikash. And as far as I've known, April 17th is observed as the World Hemophilia Day. And to garner some awareness around this disorder of for knowing you, I have invited Vikash to share with us some insights such as the symptoms, available treatments, precautions one needs to take toward this disorder. And Vikash, just to let you know, my research threw up that coming to the Indian context, more than 136,000 people have been diagnosed. Can you share a little bit more about what the insights or the ground reality is towards hemophilia?
136,000 people have been diagnosed in India?
Yes.
Oh. See, as far as the statistics of the Hemophilia Federation India goes, 1 in 10,000 people suffer from hemophilia. So in the pop about 135 crores. 1,000 is what should be the incidence, a total number of hemophilia people with hemophilia is what we should be having. But as far as I know, with the National Hemophilia Registry of the Hemophilia Federation and whatever I have been, talking to various stakeholders at the government level, I think we've been able to identify still about 35,000, not more than that. 136,000 is, I think, probably the people who should be suffering overall in India is what it was saying.
Yes. Yeah. That's what, when I was doing a little bit of my research and did stats, then I thought I should discuss. Good, we spoke about this. Now, coming back to why we are having this conversation, I would want you to explain to us what this disorder, when we say hemophilia, the bleeding disorder, what do you mean by this?
See, hemophilia is a bleeding disorder where, in our blood, normal people, we have certain clotting factors. So as we are sitting and talking to each other, God has made a body in such a way that, there's regular blood flowing in our body, and we don't even know somewhere the vein snaps, but, it's so mechanized and so well done that the normal people don't even realize that this is happening in our body. But unfortunately, for people with hemophilia, a person with hemophilia, they have one of these clotting factors missing. Normally, in say 75% to 80% of them, it is lack of factor 9, or factor 8, sorry. And about 15% is factor 9, and say about 5 to 8% it's any other factor.
Okay.
So most of the cases, it is lack of factor 8 that is in the blood. So normally what happens is, in case they get, they bang their somewhere, any part of the body to, they tend to bleed internally. If they have a cut or an accident or whatever, God forbid, they bleed much, much more than what we would bleed. We bleed for some time and then it automatically, again, we clot, the blood clots and we become okay. But for them, they continue to bleed. And the most dangerous part of this is when they have internal bleed. Internal bleed, again, they can bleed in the brain, they can bleed, in the intestine, what we call GI bleed. These are very life-threatening bleeds. And
Yes.
in a lot of cases, we do not get to know till the last minute. So normally when, parents come with a young hemophilia kid, we always counsel them that, how they have to be on the lookout, how they have to be careful, what are the symptoms. And then, in case the child is feeling very weak or something, just have a look at it. In case, they are passing blood in the stools, that means they'll be having a GI bleed. So these are some of the things that we tell the parents to keep a watch on.
Okay. And how do you identify once you say, when your parents come to you or you counsel them, but what is that or how do you identify this disorder?
See, hemophilia is a genetic disorder. Okay, about 85% of the cases are genes, the infected genes. Normally, we've heard in the XX and XY chromosome. So the infected X chromosome of the carrier mother is passed on to the child. So when a mother is a carrier, a lady is a carrier, there are 50% chances that the child might be a hemophilic. So in case, unfortunately, if the child gets the infected X chromosome from the mother, then he becomes a hemophilia child. It's again family history. So then how we make out is whether the child is normal or hemophilic is, again, when there is a family history, we counsel them that what are the things they need to look out for in case there are blue patches in the body, on the body of the child when he is growing, or if the bleeding is more prolonged, or these type of symptoms, we tell the parents to do a test, what we call as PT and APTT test. It is the clotting time taken for the blood to clot. Based on that test, we get to know whether it's a hemophilia child, and if it's a hemophilia child, is it factor 8 or factor 9 or any other factor, and then what is the level. Normally, we again have hemophilia in 3 levels. Severe, which is less than 1%, that's very dangerous situation. And then 5 is mild, and then moderate.
Okay.
So normally mild and moderate, it's quite controllable, but when it is a severe hemophilic, we need to be careful all the time.
Okay. Now that we have identified what is that. Once you identify what most of the families go into a panic phase, or what should one do once you identify that the child has this disorder?
See, we from the Hemophilia Federation over the years have been, going and meeting the government hospitals, doctors, a lot of medical professionals, because hemophilia is not, it's a very rare, it's not so well known, and even they say in the medical study, it's not very detailed study. So a lot of medical professionals and nurses themselves do not know too much about hemophilia. So one of the things that we from the Hemophilia Federation and the chapters of Hemophilia Federation do is go and educate the doctors and the authorities who are in charge of medical facilities about hemophilia, how it has to be treated, what are the tests that need to be done. So we try and educate them on this. So once the report comes, we also tell them, in case they come across any child or family with hemophilia, please send them to the local chapter. We have about 95 chapters all over India. So
Yeah.
we give them the addresses and the contact person of the chapter, and we request them that they come and enroll in the chapters, so that from there on we can keep them updated about what is happening and how we can various facilities and help that we can pass on to them.
Okay. Once you identify, what is the treatment that one has to go through
Before we get there, Nilima, I would like to add, apart from the family history, there is something called, there are even persons with hemophilia who have no family history. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That person could be the first case of hemophilia in the family. For that, we say, the mutation of the genes. In case, unfortunately, there's a mutation of the particular genes of hemophilia, that particular hemophilia factor 8, factor 9, and whatever, then we have cases where, despite having no family history, we've come across a lot of about 10 to 12% of the hemophilia cases that we come across are mutations. Now, as the study is going on more and more, we get to know there's something called acquired hemophilia, where we've come across women who have delivered baby, and after that, the mothers have acquired hemophilia. They have had a blood bleeding issue. So these are things, as we're getting to know more and more about hemophilia and this particular bleeding disorder, we are getting to know a lot of these things. We are also coming across a lot of cases where girls and women are having this particular bleeding disorder, and they normally suffer with something called 1 milligram disease. So when we come across such cases, we try and tell them what are the things that they need to be careful about, their monthly cycles, how they have to manage all that. So that is what we do.
Okay, now you mentioned that women are prone to this disease, right? Are there any cases where the men also have this, or it's only always been women the carriers?
No, it is women are the carriers, and men are most of the cases, men are the delivered boy or the men. When I say men, there are cases where we've got to know that is a person with hemophilia at the age of 20, 30. Even cases, there are when it is a very mild hemophilia case. Then when they've gone in for a surgery, now they do these, I told you, PP, FPT test. It's become mandatory to see the blood clot levels of the patient. So at those times, we get to know that he is a person with hemophilia.
Okay.
That is when, then according to their clotting time and their severity of the disorder, the hemophilia levels, medicine is prescribed, and surgery happens only when this particular medicine is there with them.
What is the treatment options for this, Vikash?
Okay. There were times, when my son was young, and even I've heard a lot of earlier cases, we did not have any proper medicine in India. We didn't have what we call today as factor replacement. Like, if there's a hemophilia patient who suffers from factor 8 deficiency, we have to replace him with factor 8. And if it is a factor 9 deficiency, whatever is deficient, we give them that particular factor. This is given through the intravenously. It has to be given through the veins. So that is what the treatment is. In earlier cases, before this treatment became and medicine became available easily, they used to take blood transfusion, so that if normal people gave blood to a person with hemophilia, the factor level would rise. And unfortunately, due to all that, we've also come across a lot of persons with hemophilia who acquired hepatitis C, hepatitis B, and HIV during these blood.
And are these treatments available, easily available across India?
See, one of the things that we from the Hemophilia Federation India can feel proud about and feel good about is in the last 5-6 years, we worked very closely with the government, the health ministry, the national health mission of India and the various states. The chapters, the local chapters have gone with the concerned state stakeholders, who we call as, the nodal officers of the blood disorders. We go and educate them and talk to them and, do advocacy with them as to what is required, how we need help, and how the factor can be procured. We line them up with some knowledge. We do a lot of these CMEs, continuous medical education programs, in various districts and state hospitals and a lot of other hospitals, so that the doctors, the nurses get to know the treatment protocol. And then we sit with the nodal officers of the blood disorders and we give them the list of the patients that we have, so that accordingly factors can be procured by state for the patients. So by God's grace, thanks to a lot of help from the state government and a lot of help from the Ministry of Health at the center also,
yes,
a good amount of money is being pumped in for the treatment of your patients.
Okay.
Right now, I think the annual budget for hemophilia is almost about 600 to 650 crores per annum.
Oh, that's the bar is raised up compared to what
the last 5 years we've been able to bring to almost say about 55-60 crores it was per annum. We brought it down more than almost 10 times. And for this, I would like to mention one particular person at the center, NHM Delhi. She was the nodal officer and she was the person in charge for blood disorders, Ms. Vinita Srivatsava.
Okay.
She understood the pain of the hemophilia, persons with hemophilia and the families. So she worked with us very closely and she helped us in reaching out to the various state people, and we were able to bring it up.
Okay, that's wonderful to know. And now you have given us quite a lot of details about what the order is, what are the symptoms, and how we can treat it. And now, can you just give us some insights about what are the precautions one needs to be taken towards hemophilia?
See, as I told you, 75 to 80% of them are family history. So when we get to know that a particular mother or a lady is a carrier and there's a history of hemophilia in the family, then we call the families and we counsel them about this disorder, and we also tell them as to what are the precautions they can take. We tell them to do a test, particular test where we get to know what we call as a carrier detection test. So the ladies of the family, we are tied up with hospitals, centers and labs which do this carrier detection test. Earlier there used to be 2 or 3 in the total country. Now I can say there are many more. So we from the Hemophilia Federation India have also funded the families to travel to these centers with their family, because the entire family has to be traveling. So we've tied up with these centers who do these tests at the subsidized price, and we from the Hemophilia Federation through the chapters, have paid these centers. We paid for the travel of the families to see who are the carriers in the family. And once we get to know that the particular person is a carrier or not, then we again counsel them as to what are the precautions they can take when they get married and when they are planning to have children. So when they are planning to, if a carrier is planning to have a child, there are two options. One is what we call as the inverter fertilization, IVF. They can go in for an IVF child, or if they want to have a normal child, during their pregnancy, third month, we tell them to do a test, carrier detection test. We tell them to do a test where we can know if the child inside is a hemophilic child.
Okay. And how expensive does all this come in terms of the treatment?
See, earlier it used to be, one test used to be about 14, 15, 16,000. It's come down to 7,000 per test. As I told you, the number of hospitals and the centers have increased, and there's a lot of centers who we are tied up with have been very cooperative with us and brought down their cost. They do it at cost price. It's a very expensive process, so even the cost itself goes into 3,000 or 4,000 per.
Okay. All right.
There are where we have tied up and they do it at cost price.
And Vikas, I have known you personally in terms of you have traveled across for this cause, advocating it, working with the governments, quite a lot. With your experience, do you see that this hemophilia is there in the rural areas more or towards the urban? What has been your understanding?
No, there is nothing called a rural area or a urban area. As I told you, as per the population, 1 in 10,000, person are affected with person with hemophilia. The thing is, we have come across more in the urban now because naturally the facilities in the cities and the urban areas are a little better because the knowledge on this particular disorder is more known, so we have more cases right now. But then the prevalence is the same, be it urban or rural. We have been able to reach out to more and more rural hospitals, district hospitals. What you call the testing facilities are increasing. We are getting to even come across a lot of persons with hemophilia diagnosed in the rural areas, but we still have a very, very long way to
go. Okay. And yes.
I'm sorry. What happens is, as I told you, since women are carriers, the mother passes on the infected gene. Unfortunately, this is a social stigma also attached. So they don't even give times. They don't even reveal to the doctor. They don't even reveal to people that they suffer from this, and that can be fatal and very dangerous. That is where I wrote as a chapter and a little bit of counseling that we do, and we request them to go and meet the doctors so that they can be counseled.
A lot of these kind of disorders, because it's predominantly the women. I'm sure people kind of do not want to come out and then speak, right?
True.
Yeah. And can one person with this disorder lead a normal life?
Yeah, see, as I told you now, after factors are available much more than what it used to be earlier, the cost of the treatment has come down. Earlier, when my son was first diagnosed, there was only one particular company which used to sell, and that is also not an Indian company, used to sell these factors. Now we have some 5 or 6 companies competing with each other, And because of the competition and the tender processing that happens in the government, the cost of the treatment has come down, the cost of factor has come down by almost 50%. There again,
Okay.
I can say we from the Hemophilia Federation have played a big role in talking to the pharma companies and the government, and we've been in some ways responsible for the cost of the factor to come down.
Okay, okay. And the lifespan of these people who have this disorder would be just normal? Or how is it like? Does it affect, or what is the scene?
No, it's, I can say, it's luck that, if you don't bleed at the wrong time, I can give you an
Mm-hmm.
example. This was very, very long back, I think more than 15 years back. It makes me really feel terrible when I think about this. There was a child with hemophilia who had, in Tirupati, I think because of the pulling and pushing, he started bleeding. Must have hurt himself. He started having brain bleed. And, though the family knew that he suffered from hemophilia, they carried that particular injection, the hemophilia concentrate, with them, because that's what we counsel the parents to do. In case they are traveling, please carry the factor replacement with you. Those days, there were not many hospitals knew how to give it. So they went to Tirupati, they came to so many hospitals, they didn't know how to give it, and they were scared, so they refused to give it. By the time they
Okay.
traveled 5, 6 hours, they brought the child to the Bangalore chapter in Norwegian Hospital. I happened to be there that day. As they were, the child was unfortunately bleeding. The brain bleed was happening, and as they were entering the hospital, the child collapsed. So, what do you say?
I
Having the med,
know.
knowing everything, they could not save the child. So that's
Mm-hmm.
unfortunate, and it is bad luck. But then we always tell them what are the precautions they should take. Uh, we see that the lifespan is much better. I know hemophilia, persons with hemophilia who are even 75, 76 years old.
Okay.
If those are mild and moderate cases. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so, and even severe hemophilics, by God's grace, if they have managed, they have been good.
Very emotional to hear this, and thank you so much for sharing this with us. And the last one question what I have is, how do people reach out to these chapters in case they need some help, some advice, or how they can reach out these centers?
Before that, can I talk to you about what is the latest treatment that has come for this?
Certainly, I'd be glad if you want to, in
Yeah,
case
because
if you feel that.
there is a study going on right now, even at the World Federation level, a lot of doctors doing it. Even in India, a few centers have taken up the study. It is called gene therapy. The gene therapy is where the particular affected gene of the patient is replaced with the good gene. But we
Mhm.
still have a long way to go. I'm not sure about how successful it has been. The statistics vary, but I think the results have been encouraging. We still are a long way off, and wherever it has happened, also this entire procedure right now, because it's in a very initial stage, it's very expensive. A normal Indian family might not be able to afford it right now, even if it happens. So, but God's grace, there is some light, and
Mhm.
hopefully it's a stage where we will be able to treat every hemophilic person with this particular gene therapy
Mhm.
and soon. And now coming to your question about
Or
chapters. Yeah,
Vikas, if you feel that I have missed out anything, please feel free to add. Maybe because this also is something new, because whatever I have known, I have made known, and I'm asking you if you feel that I have missed out something, please feel free to add.
No, I think we've covered most of the things. I would again now like to specify, whoever has been watching this particular episode is that women, as we're getting to know that, women can also suffer from 1 milligram and this particular disorder. If they feel they're having some excessive bleeding or something else, I would request them to go to the doctor, go to the particular gynecologist or to any hematologist or a physician and get this particular PT and APTT test done to see if they are fine or if they suffer from any of these issues.
Yes.
Because
And
during their monthly cycles and their other part of their womanhood, they might end up with a lot of complications.
okay, certainly. And coming to the chapters, how can one reach out to your chapters?
See, as I told you, we have about 94, 95 chapters. We are increasing regularly. These are again part of the World Hemophilia Federation India. So when we get to, all the new, we have chapters in most of the major cities. When we come across a group of 25, 30 hemophilia families or persons with hemophilia in a place where we don't have a chapter from the Hemophilia Federation, we, tell them to start a group called a self-help group. We counsel them and we help them, with some activities initially as to how they can make the memorandum of association, how they can go and register with the society as per the Societies Act in their particular city and state, and follow the rules and regulations of the state. And then what happens is, as these self-help groups come onto the website of Hemophilia Federation India, either the persons with hemophilia go and meet them, or we also, when we are conducting these program CMEs in the district hospitals and the government hospitals, we request the doctors to send them to the contact person or the chapter so that they can enroll themselves and become part of the chapter.
So on the website of Hemophilia Federation of India, all the contact numbers, email ID, everything is available.
Of each of the chapter, we have the email ID, we have the address of the chapter, and phone number of the what we call as the contact person. Okay, chapter key person, we call the main person. He's called the chapter key person. His address and details are there, so he can be contacted. Then what happens is, when the family goes, we take the report of the person with hemophilia. Then we may make him the member of the chapter, give him an ID card. That ID card, even now, most of the state hospitals are also giving the ID cards, where it has the photo of the person with hemophilia, the factor deficiency, so that in case of any emergency, we request the person with hemophilia to, carry that particular ID card in his pocket or in his bag, so that people, any unforeseen issues, at least they have that ID card so that people know what is the problem.
Great. And we're coming to the last segment, and before that, I would wanted to say a big thank you to you for spending this time and telling us what is this all about hemophilia and how you can treat it and what are the precautions and where one can go. It's been a very insightful and a lot of knowledgeable detail that you have shared with us. Thank you very much, Vikash.
I would want to thank you for taking up this. And this is part of what we want to do day in and day out, reach out to as many people as possible. And through you, God's grace, we'll be able to reach out to some more people. So this is part of what we want to do.
Yes.
And thank you for, giving me this opportunity to be able to spread the word on hemophilia, and
Yes.
hopefully some good benefits come out of this.
Yes, I'm sure people will find this, quite useful, and a lot of information will be passed on. And I have always been very appreciative of you for the courage what you've shared, what you've shown towards your own personal case. Would that be okay if I asked you to share your own story of your son and what has been the journey and what have been your lessons, if you're comfortable with that, Vikas, before I even jump to the rapid five round?
Absolutely, I have no issues. I always share it because my experiences might help somebody or some family. So I'm very proud of my son and every hemophilia person with hemophilia. So I have nothing to hide. My wife's family has hemophilia in their family, and when I was told about this before marriage, I thought, come on, yeah, by God's grace, we are quite well off. I didn't know the severity of this problem. I said, it's okay. We have so many things that we buy medicines for, probably even this would be one of the things. I said, no problem. It should not be a problem. I didn't know much about hemophilia then. And I have a daughter who was born first, and then we had a son. So when my son was born and he was about 6 months old, I think, he developed a blue patch. I think somebody out of, because he was very cute looking, somebody out of affection just pinched him, and his cheek, there's a blue patch that formed on his cheek. So we didn't know what it was, because for me it was something new. And even my wife didn't know. Then my mother-in-law saw that, and she immediately said, I think, because she had seen her brothers, two of her brothers, were hemophilics, and her family. So she said, I think we have to do a test on him. He's a hemophilic. So that's how we got to know. We got the test done, and we got to know he had hemophilia. But till the age of about 4, he grew up normally like a naughty child. We just were careful, since we already knew a little bit about hemophilia, and gradually in the next 1 year or so, I got associated with Bangalore chapter, Hemophilia Society Bangalore chapter. I learned about hemophilia more and more and how to cope with it. But at the age of 4, he had this attack of viral encephalitis, viral brain fever. He had a very severe attack, and that was in 2002. A lot of, I think, when even he was in the hospital, I used to read news. In UP, there were about 700, 800 deaths due to viral encephalitis. It was in the air at that time. God's grace, my son survived that particular episode. After almost 65 days in the ICU, he came out. He was in the hospital for almost 3 months. Then we brought him home. But because of the severity of the particular attack of viral encephalitis, he, he was on 5 anticonvulsants. So he used to get, convulsions 6 times, 7 times a day, though he was under 4 to 5 anticonvulsants. So, but when he came out of this particular thing, his part of the brain which manages the movement and the speech got affected. So he became sort of bedridden. He became cerebral palsy, and he was bedridden. He passed away at the age of 12 in 2010. So the next 8 years of his life, he was on bed. I mean, he could not move. Of course, we used to send him to Spastic Society. We did a lot of Ayurveda treatment, allopathy treatment, everything possible. We tried. So he used to move around on wheelchair. He could not walk normally and things like that. At the age of 12, he passed away. Even when he was bedridden, because he had hemophilia, he had 2 brain bleeds. So it's not that, the child has to go hit his head to the wall, or there should be some particular contact. Just lying down on the bed, he had 2 brain bleeds.
Okay. Uh, every time I hear this, I became a little emotional, and then I would just want to say thank you for sharing this story with us. I know that how strong you were, during this entire course of handling your son, and you're very happy that he was part of your life at least for some time. Is there some kind of message or something that you would want to share with the other families who are going through the same kind of struggle?
I only say that, it's beyond anybody's control. Nothing to feel ashamed about anything. There are so many different disorders. Everything is thing. We need to be strong. We have to help each other, support each other. There is much more medical facility and treatment available compared to what it used to be earlier. So, hemophilia, a person with hemophilia can be as normal as possible if we are careful, we are vigilant, and we take proper treatment and proper care. So God bless the person with hemophilia and the family. There's nothing to feel bad or emotion. Please reach out to your chapters. Please reach out to the families who have this disorder and work together to overcome whatever issues there are.
All right. On this note, we will, move out to a rapid fire round, Vikas, where we'll have a lighter conversation from such a heavy subject that you have enlightened us. Here, I will be asking you 5 questions, 5 random questions. You need to answer them in a word or 2. And if you feel that these questions are uncomfortable, you can decide to just not answer them. But yeah. Could we start now?
Okay.
Yeah. The first one is, are you a morning person?
Am I a morning person?
Yes.
I've been a sports person, so from my childhood, I've been a morning person.
Oh, I didn't know that you are. What is the sport that you play?
I played cricket.
Oh, that's a nice thing. And the Indian city you like the most? The second question. The Indian city you like the most?
Bangalore, of course.
Oh, right. Our number Bengaluru.
Number.
Your favorite? Sorry, you were saying something?
No, I said yes, number Bengaluru.
Yes. The third question for you is your favorite movie?
I don't remember. I'm not very good at that, but any good. I watch more of Hindi movies, but any good Hindi movie.
Okay. A coffee or a tea person?
Both. But if it is coffee, I would prefer filter coffee.
Okay. And if given a...
Not I drink more of tea because it does not do justice to our coffee.
Yeah, coffee can never be replaced. Yeah, coffee can never be replaced. And if given a choice, the last question, if given a choice, the profession that you would want to choose?
I think I would love to work as a volunteer in for any such cause, because that's given me so much of satisfaction, joy. I've met so many people, so I'd love to do something like that.
Awesome. Here we'll just finish up the...
And I'm from a business family, so I'm blessed that I was able to give a lot of time. My family has always supported me.
Yes. With this, we finish with the rapid fire round, and we've come to the last segment. We've come to the end of this. Before I let you go off and finally say goodbye and thank you, I would want to know if people want to reach out to you, your social media profiles or email ID, which you would like to share with us.
Yeah, see, my email ID is Vikash, VIKASH, Goyal, GOYAL, @gmail.com. Okay, then I'm there on Facebook. I'm there on Instagram, Vikash C Goyal 284.
Mm-hmm.
And then my mobile number, you can WhatsApp to me, 98451 00122. I get a lot of calls from patients and their families. I'm always there. But my request would be, if it's in the emergencies, call me or please message me. I'll always respond.
That's very generous of you to have shared the number with us, Vikas, and I'm, very happy that we are having this knowledgeable conversation, getting to know so much about this disorder. Thank you so much once again, Vikas.
Welcome. It was my pleasure, and I again hope that this particular effort that you and I are trying to put will help the cause and reach out more people and give them better knowledge and input, insight about this. Thank you very much, Nilima. God bless you and your family.
Thank you so much. Thank you, and I'll speak to the other side.